Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to tell you guys why I went from being an AK guy over to being an AR guy. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, it used to be that the AK-47 was my go-to gun, and for the last several years it's been the AR-15. Now, when I first started doing like tactical training about 10, 12 years ago, I was training on both guns, and at some point early on, I made the decision that the AK was going to be my go-to gun, mostly based on stories of reliability. Okay, that I was hearing from other people. Everybody was saying the AK was a lot more reliable, and I could see that. I had an AR that it needed to be cleaned. Every 500 rounds or so. AK, I could go 10,000 rounds, without cleaning it. In fact, my first AK, I went about 10,000 rounds without cleaning it. I definitely saw the AK as being more reliable, and that's why I made it my go-to gun. And then, here's the thing. Back then, all we had on the guns, we had basically the iron sights, and we had a sling. Okay, so that's basically all you had on the gun. You had your iron sights for aiming it, and then you had your sling, and basically I had, we did have the collapsible stocks back then, right? We weren't still using the wooden ones. We did have the collapsible stocks, and we did have plastic furniture up here, but nobody was using red dots. I'm sorry, people were using them, but they weren't as common. Okay, so my first AR, my first AK, I was using them with iron sights for a very long time. And then what happened, red dots started becoming very popular. I tried one out, and I saw the benefit of having a red dot. Faster target acquisition. You can aim in the dark, basically, right? As long as you can see your target, right? You could put the red dot on it and hit it with the iron sights. It can be almost impossible to see them at night. Okay, I immediately made the transition to the red dot, and that's when I started thinking, you know what? I think the AR is probably the more practical gun. So this is what this really comes down to when I say, why did I, how did I go from being an AK guy to being an AR guy? What I'm talking about is the practical difference between these two guns. Okay, what is the thing that mattered, that actually made me switch gears? And the thing that made me switch gears, more than anything, was the rails. Okay, with the AR, with the AR, you got a lower and an upper. All right, that allows you to put the red dot on your upper, right, which is a very stable platform. The barrel is attached to it, and then you have all this extra real estate here to put stuff on it. Okay, with the AK, what I realized is that back then, if you wanted to mount a red dot, the only real option, the only practical option, was to put a side mount, and it created a couple of problems, two problems really. The first problem is that I can no longer get the normal cheek weld, because the rail raised the red dot a little bit higher, so I had to actually anchor my jaw to the gun, which meant that I needed to get some type of a stock riser, so that my eyes would now get behind the gun, and I used the AK like that for a very long time. And then later on, I started finding out, I started realizing that although I really didn't see a difference in accuracy when I was using iron sights, when I started using the red dot and started getting good with it, right? 12 years ago, I was not as a good distance shooter as I am now, because of the additional practice I've had over the last 10, 12 years. I've gotten a lot better at shooting at distance. So with the red dot, I could see that on the AR, I was a lot more accurate, okay, versus a red dot on the AK. And then what I came to realize is that because the red dot was sitting on the, on the side rail, the side rail was not as stable. So if you push down on the side rail, or if you push down on top of the red dot, basically the dot would move, so it wasn't stable. So what I ended up doing was got rid of side rail, and I mounted, basically I mounted the red dot on top of the gas tube, and with the red dot, on top of the gas tube, which is basically clamped to the barrel, I'm seeing very similar accuracy between these two guns. So both guns now are, let's say, equally accurate. Okay, and when I shoot, let's say, I'll shoot 200 yards with this washer right here. I've hit 3.5 inches at 200 yards. Okay, which is below 2 MOA, which is what I will often hit. With this Palmetto. I'll get 2 MOA or better. So both guns are equally accurate. Accuracy is not the issue. Recoil is not the issue. Both guns are pretty, have a fairly manageable recoil. So recoil is not the issue. Weight's not the issue. Both guns are about the same weight. AK is a little bit heavier. I think this one's about. It used to be 6.5 pounds, but with the quad rail, it's now probably the same weight as the AK. They're both at about 7.5 pounds now. So the weight's not the issue. The issue is, right, the big issue that I have found is with the AR-15. You put your red dot here, and you have all this extra space to work with. There's 3 things that you have to have on your go-to rifle, right? You have to have your sling. Okay, you gotta have a red dot. Okay, you gotta have a light. Okay. Now the AR gives you a lot of places to put your light. I can put this anyway. I can put this on the side over here. Okay, so I can mount this up here. So really quickly, without running any pressure pads, right? If I want to get the light on there, I can get the light on there. Okay, and now basically I can work this rifle. Okay, if I want a more permanent situation, what I do is I can take the light off, and I can put it to this side, so it's even more out of my way. So if I put it on the right side, now it's even more out of my way. And what I can do is now I can run a pressure pad on top, and what that allows me is to, put my hand further out and get a C-clamp on top of the gun. Okay, so now when I'm shooting the gun, if I'm shooting really fast, I can push down on the gun to offset the minimal, lift that an AR might have, and it's almost nothing. But yeah, you can get a C-clamp on top of it. So I've got all this extra space to work with. Now let's look at the AK. So same thing. We need 3 things. We need a sling. Because sometimes we need to go hands-free. So we gotta have a sling. We gotta have a red dot because it's just a proven technology that just works. You can shoot at night. I can actually shoot better at distance. I'm more accurate with it. I get faster target acquisition. So gotta have that red dot. The problem is that you can't put the red dot over here, so it's gotta go on top of the gas tube. First problem is I can't get a C-clamp on this. So the AK has a little bit more recoil, and it has the piston that's riding on top. So because you have this mass moving back and forth on top, when this fires, it wants to, that mass is coming back. It wants to lift a little bit more. So I would like to put a C-clamp on this, right? But where am I going to put my hands? If I put it there, well, now I'm blocking my red dot. If I put it behind it, same deal. I'm blocking, so I can't get a C-clamp on this rifle in the way it's set up right now. So now I'm kind of forced to hold it like this. That's the only way I can hold it. Okay, and things get even more confusing when I try to put a light on this. So here's the thing. Where's that light? No, this guy. Okay, so we gotta have a sling, we gotta have a red dot, we gotta have a light. Where do I put the light? If I put the light over here, someplace over here, well, now it's impossible for me to hold the gun, and basically the light is shining into the sling, so that's not going to work. So what I did is I got a rail on the side over here where I can mount the light. Okay, All right, so the light has to be on the off side, right? It can't be on your sling side. It's got to be on the off side. Problem is now I have to run a pressure pad. I have to run a wire with a pressure pad over here because there's really no way I can hit that button. So I have to run a pressure pad on this, which means that it takes longer to set it up. If I'm moving the light from one rifle to another, it's a lot easier to move this light from an AR to an AR than it is to go from an AK to an AK if it has to have a pressure pad. Now I have seen some other systems where people have it offset out forward. I have not been able to find anything that will fit this rail system because I don't have I don't have a Picatinny rail on top. This particular system that I got has an aim point base, and the reason why I got the aim point base is because I have a co-witness between the red dot and the iron sights, so it had to, only this base would allow for that co-witness. If you get a Picatinny rail on top, right, then what you're able to do is you're able to pull the red dot back a little bit and mount put an offset light that will stick out over here that you can actually work with your thumb if you want. But the problem is, in that case, you lose the rail is going to lift the red dot higher, all right, which means you're going to lose your co-witness. So I elected to go with the co-witness. I didn't realize how much of a problem the light was going to be, but in hindsight, I wish I got a Picatinny rail so that I can mount an offset light on the right side really quickly when I want to do it. But this isn't terrible either. Basically I got the light mounted on the side here, and I have to run a pressure pad. Now I'm pretty good at shooting either way. So if I'm normally right-sided and all of a sudden I get into a situation where I need to get the light on, I'm pretty comfortable with switching and running the light like this. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. Some people are not going to be comfortable with that. Okay, so I'm comfortable running the gun like this. In a pinch, switching it up like that. But again, this is the reason, or one, why I went from being an AK guy over to being an AR-15 guy. This system is a lot more flexible. It allows you more room to grow because what happens is later on I decide to get into night vision equipment. Okay, so I got my light here. I can put I can run a light on the off side over here. I have room to run a pressure pad in the back, and I can put an IR illuminator in the front. Okay, if you look at this, where on earth am I going to put an IR illuminator on this? There's simply no space. I'm left with no space. So, this is not something that I can grow into. As new technology comes along, I can't. There's no place to go now. A really simple, easy solution that I wish companies like Palmetto would start employing is this space over here is a waste of space. That rear sight does not need to be there. This should be a Picatinny rail, okay, where you can mount your red dot over here, right, and then rear sight can go on the dust cover because basically the rear sight's just a backup at this point. So rear sight can go on a dust cover. Red dot goes where the rear sight is, right? Red dot moves here, and now you've got rail space over here where you can mount an IR illuminator, or if you want to take a C-clamp, you can take a C-clamp. Because right now it's impossible to take a C-clamp with this gun. I mean, there's without hindering your vision. There's just no way to do it. As opposed to this, with this I can take a C-clamp. My hand is not in the way. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. This is the practical difference between an AK-47 and an AR-15. This is the only thing that counts as far as I'm concerned. They're both guns are equally accurate. Both guns are equally light. Both guns have, close enough power. Both guns, everything else is close enough that it does not matter. But there's a limit to what I can mount on that gun compared to this gun. Here I got a lot of space. You know, it doesn't matter whether you have a quad rail or if you have like a, you know, a free float that has like, you know, even if you have a free float that has like key mod or M-lock, or you know, you can put rails wherever you need to put those rails and mount whatever you want to mount. So if you guys have anything you guys want to add to this, any comments, any ideas of your own, perhaps something I haven't thought about, please put in the comment section. If you're not a member of the channel, please subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.